You know, I'm sorry. I think there could have been a way to prosecute this man successfully. But I want to go to Nick Zotos, the attorney for Ricky Wheaton. You have called this a fair resolution. And I really want to ask you, in all honesty, do you think you could look into the eyes of the mother of this little boy who died, 4 years old, and his older brother, who's 10, who had injuries and who has suffered psychologically, and tell that woman this is a fair resolution?
Well, you know, what you don't really, what you're not aware of is the Highway Patrol did an extensive accident reconstruction of the event. And the Highway Patrol, their own expert, thought that the children contributed to their own injuries because they were crossing the street in the dark without a crosswalk.
Really?
Wearing dark clothing. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, really? Because they were wearing dark clothing like a little 4-year-old?
Ma'am, I'm just repeating
doesn't have the right to wear.
Just what the Highway Patrol found. And
your client left the scene, sir.
That's what he pled guilty to, yes, ma'am.
Why did he leave the scene if he had done nothing wrong?
I don't know why he left the scene, ma'am. I don't have that answer.
Could it be that he was drinking the way he was in all the other incidents where he was pulled over?
Ma'am, I don't speculate that. That's your agenda.
It's not my agenda. I wish this accident never happened. The prosecutor said that they were confident that he had been drinking based on his history of 6 DUI convictions and 11 DUI arrests. I'm not beating up with you. I know you're just doing your job.
Mr. McCullough correctly said, what he thinks, what he suspects, doesn't mean he can prove that. Both sides of the case had flaws. There was a plea agreement made because both sides had flaws.
Look, I want to get to this. Brian Silber, I know you're a criminal defense attorney, okay?
I am.
But here's the point. He benefited from leaving the scene of the accident because if he had been drunk, okay, which, you know, how do you predict the future? Look at the past, okay? He obviously has a drinking problem because he's had 11 DUI arrests. And so he leaves the scene of the accident. By the time they find him, if he had been drunk, that alcohol is out of his system. So he served himself well, you might say, by leaving the scene of the accident.
You know, Jane, this actually happens all the time. And for those of us that litigate DUI cases, this is not an uncommon occurrence. And the people that run the most are the ones with the worst records. You know why? Because they've been through the system. They know how it's going to go down. They go and hide themselves under a rock for a few days, sober up, and then maybe they come forward or maybe they're found. But by that point in time, there's no way to determine if they were driving under the influence.
Yeah,
so
but here's the
unfortunately,
thing.
this is an example where that happened.
Regina on Facebook asked the best question of the night. With all his arrests, why was he free to begin with? Amanda Manukian, criminal defense attorney. I wish we had some former prosecutors on the panel tonight. I guess
I am a former prosecutor.
Okay, great. All right, but now you're
not only that, I'm a former
attorney.
DUI prosecutor.
Oh, you are? Okay. Well, listen, let me ask you this. I mean, this guy had 6 DUI convictions, and apparently there is a state law that says chronic offenders with at least 3 convictions should face up to 15 years in prison. So why was he not put in prison for 15 years after his 3rd DUI? I mean, he was originally charged with second-degree murder in this child's death. That could have sent him to prison for 10 to 30 years or even life in prison. Instead, he pleads to a lesser charge of involuntary manslaughter. The maximum is 7 years, leaving the scene a maximum 4 years. He didn't even get 11 years. At the very least, he could have gotten the maximum for the lesser charges that he ended up pleading guilty to.
Jane.
Well, let Amanda take a strike at this.
Jane, let me start by saying that the justice system failed LaShawn long time ago, way before he was born. And the fact remains is we're trying to go back and fix the errors of what prosecutors failed to do, aggressively prosecute these cases back 1983 when 2 people were killed. Now, unfortunately, the prosecutors are stuck with the evidence they have on this case. And the fact remains he was arrested 3 days after the fact, and they can't prove he was under the influence. But what the prosecutors didn't do is aggressively prosecute the fact that he left the scene of the crime with major injuries involving death. That is unexplainable, and we do nothing about it
I
and give
disagree
him
with
a
that.
plea deal
You're
of 4
being
years.
unfair.
disagree.
It
Wait,
sounds like you got the
hold on,
maximum.
wait, let
Completely
Nick
agree with that.
respond. Let Nick respond. He's the attorney for this man. And again, anything I say, Nick, is certainly not directed at you. You're an attorney doing your job.
Look,
this is a case that has infuriated everyone across the country.
Bob McCullough's office does an excellent job. They're all good prosecutors. They know what their cases are worth. They know what they can accomplish in court and what they cannot. He got the maximum for leaving the scene of an accident. There was
Right.
nothing less. You
What-
know, he got the 4 years.
Yeah,
What,
you know
what about driving with a
and-
suspended license?
Well, that was the basis of the felony murder. The murder second charge was based on the fact that it was a felony for him to be driving while suspended. There were issues about placing him behind the wheel of the car. There were no witnesses to
That's
place
huge.
him behind the wheel of the car. And there was a witness, but who could not identify him.